One of the last things you would want to be in the water with in the American South is a big, mean alligator. But over 100 years ago, in the marshes of southern Alabama, a monstrous gator was said to prey on livestock and humans alike, with a thirst for blood gaining its near demonic reputation. Welcome to Cryptid Corner, the series All Things Cryptids, and today we are going to look into Two-Toed Tom. Today's topic takes us along the Alabama-Florida border during the late 1800s and early 1900s. Tom was a giant alligator said to be anywhere from 14 to 24 feet in length, with red eyes, and 1 foot with only 2 toes on it, from which it gets its namesake. According to legend, Tom lost 3 of his toes on this foot from a steel trap, although this did not limit Tom at all, showing extreme aggression and intelligence for an alligator, often attacking in a vicious and calculated manner. Tom is also said to be extremely durable, with bullets bouncing off its thick hide and leaving locals to resort to extreme measures to bring Tom down, only for the gator to have the last laugh. Oral testimony of Two-Toed Tom dates back to the 1920s, with the earliest written reports of this demonic gator being documented in Carl Carmer's 1934 book, Stars Fell on Alabama. In this book, he refers to Tom as Two Toes and Red Eye, describing it as a 14-foot-long gator known for devouring both livestock and people in Covington County, Alabama. Due to this, bounties were placed on Tom, with hunters and trappers from all over coming in to accept the challenge, but walking away empty-handed if they walked away at all. A Civil War veteran even camped out for about a week, but Tom had steered clear from the sniper's position. The most well-known story regarding Two-Toed Tom was his run-in with Pap Haynes, a farmer in southern Alabama. Haynes would discover Tom had devoured his favorite donkey. A trail of blood-stained gator tracks would lead to a pond on his property, and like any sane man would do, he would load up 15 syrup buckets with dynamite and detonate it in the pond. This explosion would destroy his pond, and even though this was overkill, to Haynes, it was about sending a message. But to Haynes' horror, he would hear screaming after the explosion. The screams of his granddaughter. He would rush as fast as he could, but all he would be greeted by were the remains of his granddaughter, and fresh, crimson-soaked tracks of the same gator, with 1 foot only bearing 2 toe prints. The book's final mention of Tom claimed that in the 1910s, the gator was driven out of Alabama, likely by a mob of angry locals, where it would begin its reign of terror in Florida, being spotted around the towns of Esto and Noma in Sandhammock Lake. Tom's stay on the Panhandle would likewise be stained in blood, devouring livestock that wandered too close to the water. These accounts would be documented in E.W. Carswell's book Homesteading, A History of Holmes County, Florida, along with Esto Town Councilman Ralph Dupree, who had heard accounts of Tom all the way back in 1922. A man named Charles Womble, who used to live in Esto, would report seeing the tracks of Two-Toed Tom on his grandfather's farm, among other gator tracks, also mentioning that cows and hogs would constantly go missing. Tom would also become a problem for the workers of the Alabama-Florida Lumber Company sawmill in Noma, where he would reportedly become infatuated with the whistle of the steam mill, mistaking it for a female gator's call. Eventually, reports of Two-Toed Tom would just become a distant memory, with nobody capturing or killing the gator. But in 1980, the tracks of a large alligator were found on Boynton Island, and as you could guess, one of the footprints only had 2 toes. And shortly following this report, Two-Toed Tom reports would begin to come in yet again. Elders who remember the legend of Two-Toed Tom were shocked to hear that the red-eyed devil gator could still be among them 60 years later, with searches being launched, but No luck, no one could find this gator. In Alabama, two-toed Tom is remembered as a horrifying, almost demonic type of figure. Yet in Florida, it is a bit different. Floridians of the Panhandle take pride in the fact that such a gator lived among them, even claiming that Tom actually was born in Florida and then merely visited Alabama before returning back to its rightful home. On September 5th, 1987, the town of Esto would host their first Two-Toed Tom Festival, a festival that continues to this very day, with the last one being held on the 13th of this very year. And Two-Toed Tom is even a boss in the game The South of Midnight, which features many other legends from folklore of the American South. And I even saw that it's actually a nominee in some categories in the Game Awards, so that's pretty interesting. So just what is the deal with Two-Toed Tom? As a cryptid, Two-Toed Tom is extremely plausible, as for the most part, it is just described as a large aggressive alligator, meaning we don't have to undergo a long speculation phase. Alligators are extremely common in this region, with Alabama being the state with the 5th highest gator population, and Florida, of course, coming in at second only to Louisiana. Male American alligators tend to max out around 14 to 15 feet in length, and weighing in at about 1,000 pounds. And although the largest verified gator, which was captured in Alabama, measured about 15 feet 9 inches in length, an unverified report of a monster gator in Louisiana was said to come in at over 19 feet long and estimated to weigh about a ton, which would be about the sweet spot regarding Tom's highest estimated sizes. The reported durability of Tom is also not too unusual, as gators aren't entirely bulletproof, but their thick, elastic skin and hard osteoderms make them extremely durable, even stopping bullets. And the larger a gator grows, the harder it is to bring them down, requiring a well-placed shot and likely multiple shots from high-caliber rounds. The red eyes are also not too unusual, as a gator's eye shine is naturally red by default. And gators are actually quite intelligent, showing very high problem-solving skills, really good memories, and even showing signs of tool use, although that's not entirely useful for today, but it'd be really fun to see if, like, Two-Toed Tom had, like, a spear or even, like, a gun. But what is odd about Tom, though, is his aggression towards humans, as alligators are actually fearful of humans, only attacking when they feel threatened, with only about 30 alligator-related fatalities occurring in the US since 1948, usually preying on the young and the elderly. Additionally, attacks on livestock are also somewhat uncommon, and like human fatalities, it mostly has to do with the young being targeted. Ironically, if you are a cattle farmer in the Deep South, you are far more likely to actually be killed by your own cattle than a rogue gator, with around 20 human fatalities occurring annually. Additionally, alligators only live for about 30 to 50 years, with some captive gators living into their 80s. And to reach anywhere near the reported sizes of Tom, the gator would have to be quite old, with 12-footers taking upwards of 36 years to achieve such size, requiring tons of food just to function. So with this in mind, if Tom was a real super gator, it wouldn't be around for nearly as long as it was reported for, with the tracks found in the 1980s certainly belonging to a separate gator. And on the note of separate gators, that is likely what a majority of Two-Toed Tom's legend boils down to. Gators with missing limbs and fingers are actually pretty common, as they often lose them in territorial disputes with other gators. So it could be possible that a large gator who lost his fingers in a fight with another gator or even a steel trap had resorted to attacking cattle in order to sustain its immense size in its injured state. Reports of a large two-toed gator devouring cattle would spread across the southern Alabama and Florida Panhandle region, with details such as Tom's size and aggression being exaggerated with each reported sighting. Other cattle deaths and human casualties would be attributed to this fierce beast as well. And given there is no shortage of gators in this region, sightings of large red-eyed gators would keep the legend going, with every gator and maybe even ignorantly some crocodile-related incidents being attributed to Two-Toed Tom and his reign of terror. And so, Two-Toed Tom, who is likely inspired from a real gator, appears to be a legend born from the region's annoyance of swamp puppies, later being turned into an urban legend through exaggerated reports, each trying to one-up the last. It isn't uncommon for farmers to demonize any creature that threatens the safety of their beloved cattle, although in the case of Two-Toed Tom, this is pretty evident since they literally gave it glowing red eyes and a taste for human flesh. Ironically, the creature that once terrified farmers and made everyone weary of the water is now celebrated by their descendants over 100 years later as a rich piece of southern folklore and has even been seen as a local icon, especially by the people of Esto. After all, Florida is known for its gators, although Louisiana might want to have a word regarding their gator status. And that's going to do it for the legend of Two-Toed Tom. I like this cryptid case, it's been a while since we covered a more plausible cryptid. And yes, it is a cryptid, I know there's going to be people in the comments being like, oh, it's just a gator, it's not really a cryptid. Well, scientists haven't captured it, so it isn't scientifically recognized, so yes, it is a cryptid, it's shut out. But yeah, it's a very terrifying figure, and not very often do we talk about cryptids that kill people. Or like plausible cryptids that kill people for that matter. It's usually just like a legendary creature. But, I mean, sometimes for a monster, you just need an aggressive animal. We don't really need to invent monsters when the monsters that we know exist are just so fierce, like bears and gators and tigers and such. But, what did you think about Two-Toed Tom? Do you think that Two-Toed Tom was inspired from a real gator or just multiple gators? Perhaps there really is a gator spirit haunting the swamps of Alabama and Florida. Let me know down in the comment section below. And yeah, I didn't really mean to take a week with this one. I just wasn't feeling too good in the beginning of the week, so I decided to just save this one for Thursday. But all the less, I do hope that you all enjoyed it. I enjoyed researching it. It was a very fun tale. And unfortunately, though, the next upload, which will be a Thanksgiving upload, is going to take about a week because this one's going to require quite a bit of research time, but I'll definitely have it out by Thanksgiving. That's for sure. And it is a pretty well-known one, but it's going to be pretty interesting. But as a hint, it is a plausible cryptid. It's not an implausible one, unfortunately for those who are more interested in the creepier monster-like ones. We are going to go for a more plausible one. But, again, I'd like to thank you all for watching this far into the video. If you like the video, make sure to leave a like. If you like this content, make sure to subscribe and ring that bell so you are notified of any cryptid that comes out. You might be living where these cryptids are announced, so you might have to know, because that cryptid might get you if you don't watch this video. And if you really, really, really like this content, make sure to become a member. For just $3 a month, you gain early access to videos, along with priority recommendations, a spot here on the member shoutout, and you are a real one. But if you made it this far in the video, you're a real one regardless. And I'd like to thank you for watching once more. And again, I will see you on Thanksgiving. Gobble, gobble, gobble.